The following is a true story. According to Redditor Sarah Smile 416, this happened to her while she was in college many years ago. Brace yourselves. A Ouija board experience is told by Sarah Smile 416. Intro. I'm that person, you know. That person who moves the pointer while playing with the Ouija board. I don't know why. I guess I just like knowing that I was the one responsible for scaring the snot out of people instead of something or someone I couldn't see. Or maybe I just didn't believe that a commercially made product could talk to ghosts. Who knows? But I found out. Karma definitely gets you in the end. One night in college, a friend of mine was over and we were studying. One of those ghost shows came on TV and they were messing around with the Ouija board. My friend Liz said offhandedly to me, you know, I've never played with one of those. I was definitely surprised. Ouija boards are such a staple of my childhood. Hundreds of sleepovers with me scaring the crap out of little girls by moving the pointer on the board and the whole light as a feather, stiff as a board thing. I couldn't fathom someone growing up and not experiencing it. I started talking about random experiences I've had with the board and tried to convince her that it would be a good idea to run up to Walmart and buy one. Finally, I was successful and off we went. Our studies abandoned on the table. College priorities at its finest. After our Walmart trip, we got back to my apartment and opened the box. We spared no expense. It was the glow-in-the-dark special edition. Talk about class. Liz looked like she was about to pee her pants as I began to explain how to put your fingers on a pointer. We lit some candles and turned off all the lights. Okay, so that's whatever, I said, secretly smiling. Like what? She asked. I don't know, something fun like, when am I going to die or something? This was always my favorite question for people to ask because while pushing the pointer, I could really freak them out. I don't want to know that. Man, I was a bit disappointed, but went with it. I suggested just trying to open our minds and see who would come through. I was already planning to have JFK come through. Not many of my friends know I am a huge JFK buff, so I can usually creep them out with the amount of knowledge the ghost of JFK knows about his assassination and whatnot. We put our fingers on a pointer and nothing happened. I was letting the tension grow before I started my pushing. It's always better to start slow. All of a sudden, the pointer started to move, and I wasn't pushing it for once. You can't push it, I yelled at her. Talk about the kettle calling the pot black. I didn't want her to ruin my plan. I'm not, Liz shouted back. Well, obviously you are, because I'm not. Aren't the ghosts supposed to move it, she asked. I guess she got me there. I just sat back, shut up, and watched the pointer move. I was convinced she was moving it. She had to be. There was no way a ghost was communicating with us through a glow-in-the-dark spirit board that I bought for $17.99 at Walmart. After a few minutes, we finally got a message. I miss you, Liz. Liz was understandably a bit freaked out that the spirit knew her name. I was too, but I kept telling myself she was moving it, whether it be subconsciously or not. We kept going. I need to see you again soon. I need to see you again soon. What does that mean? Liz asked, getting more and more freaked out. I don't know, I said, and honestly meant that I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. I hate to admit it, but I was starting to get freaked out. The Ouija board never worked for me. "You're moving it," she yelled. "No, I'm not, I swear." And I did swear. I wasn't moving it for once in my life. "Yes, you are." She kept insisting I was moving it. But we kept going. The pointer stopped moving for a few minutes. I was intrigued, yet scared. I wanted to see what else it would do, but I was afraid of what I'd find out. Finally, getting a bit impatient, I asked the question of the night. "Who is this? What do you want?" "I am Will. Hello. Liz, I still love you." Liz looked like she was going to lose her dinner all over the board. "Who's Will?" I asked. "Seriously, are you moving it?" Liz responded in a thin whisper. "No," I told her. "I wasn't." "Who's Will?" "He's my ex-boyfriend who killed himself after we broke up." "Really? Are you moving it? Because this isn't funny." I tried to convince her that I wasn't, but she didn't believe me. She just sat there looking like, excuse the pun, she had just seen the ghost. I suggested we quit. "Listen, Liz, obviously this is upsetting you. Let's just stop now and no, I need to know if he's okay," she said with a determined look on her face. "But I have to make sure it's not just you pushing it and messing with me." After a bit of discussion, we decided that I would keep my fingers on the pointer, but keep my head down and not look. That way, I would know where to push it. I agreed and sat there feeling more and more uneasy. I put my head down and closed my eyes, trying to focus all of my energy or whatever the ghost of Will needed to. Maybe bring some closure to Liz. After about a minute of sitting there with my head down and eyes closed, I started to go cold all over. It was unlike any other feeling of cold I've had. The only way to describe it is that my bones were cold and it was chilling me from the inside out. I tried to brush it off. Maybe there was a draft coming in from the cool spring air outside. Then without warning, my head, for lack of a better term, exploded with all of these gruesome images I couldn't control. It was as if any single irrational or rational fear I had throughout the course of my life multiplied its intensity by 1,000 and slammed into my brain at the same time. It only seemed to last for a second and a year at the same time. But regardless of however long it was, every single image was burned into my head. I jerked away from the table, trying not to scream. "What's wrong?" Liz asked, smiling at me. What was she smiling about? "I don't know what. Why are you smiling? What is so funny?" I could barely contain myself. Deep down, I knew I was acting crazy, but I couldn't help it. "Nothing's funny. I'm just smiling because I had the nicest conversation with Will. He doesn't blame me." "What do you mean?" I snapped again. "It's only been like a minute since we started." Liz's face scrunched up in confusion. "What do you mean? I've been talking to Will for the last 2 hours. WTF. Needless to say, I was a bit creeped out. Okay, more than creeped out. I was terrified. I threw that stupid board back in the box as quickly as I could and blew out all the candles. I shoved the box into the closet as far back as it could go. I didn't want to look at it anymore. I announced abruptly that I was going to drive Liz home and opened the door, trying to hurry her out. It was definitely out of character. She obliged, however, and we got into the car. The whole 5-minute drive seemed like an eternity. I could swear I'd see things on the side of the road, but at second glance they weren't there. Images I had seen of my baby sister mutilated and whatnot from that weird trance-like dream I had started to shimmer in the corners of my eyes. I swerved about 1,000,000 times, thinking I was going to hit one of those things, but nothing was there. By the time we got to her apartment, Liz looked at me like I was crazy. "Are you sure you're okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just get out of the blank car already." I snapped back at her, almost surprising myself with how mean I was being. Though I fully admit to messing with people while using Ouija boards, I really am a nice person. I am. Liz did as I asked, and I sped away, eager to get to the safety of my apartment. When I opened the door, I noticed two things right away. It was about 30 degrees in the apartment, and all of the blinds and curtains were open. I was confused, but I tried not to let my mind wander. I shut all of the curtains and cranked the heat. It was April, so it wasn't freezing outside, but it wasn't hot either. Normal springtime weather. After shutting all of the blinds and whatnot, I sat on the couch and tried to turn on the lamp. The lamp went on and then popped off. I again tried to shake it off as a stupid coincidence. I changed the light bulb and went to turn it on again. Pop, out again. I went to go turn on the overhead light instead. Pop, all 3 bulbs popped off at the same time. At about this point, I was basically peeing my pants. I was so scared. But I tried to remain calm as I could. It wasn't easy, let me tell you. I grabbed as many blankets as I could and sat on the couch in the dark living room. I was going to light the candles we had used when we used the board, but I didn't want anything related to that thing around me. I turned on the television and blared it, just hoping that I could just attribute any noise and flash of something in the corner of my eyes to the television. You know you've done it too. Unfortunately, it didn't work. I was just starting to doze off when this loud beeping woke me up. It sounded like the worst alarm clock ever. It was coming from the closet where I had thrown the Ouija board. I slowly went over and opened the door. Out fell an old alarm clock. I think it was my roommate's. I hope it was my roommate's. Blaring uncontrollably. I hurriedly shut the door so the Ouija board would stay in there, and I started looking at the clock to turn it off. Not only were there no batteries in it, nor was it plugged in anywhere, but the time flashing on the clock was 4:16 a.m. My birthday, hence the username. WTF. Needless to say, I threw that thing quite far and it broke into 1,000,000 little pieces. I wish it stopped there. I really do. But little did I know, that was just the warm-up, so to say. The opening act to a 3-act show that has become my life. I have to go to work right now, or I will tell you more. Though I hope this is enough to convince everyone, never, ever mess with the Ouija board. Alright, she comes back, and she does part 2. Because finally getting my Ouija board story out there without judgment has been so cathartic, I figured I would continue. It's nice to be able to tell someone without having them look at me like I have a third head or consider committing me. After the initial Ouija board fiasco, like I said, I went home and stuff started getting real. That first night, the temperature in my apartment dropped to about 30 degrees. All the blinds and curtains were open. Every single light bulb burned, and a random clock radio with no batteries or plugs started beeping for no reason, with the time displayed as 4:16, which is coincidentally my birthday. Ever since we stopped doing the ouija, I kept seeing horrible, gruesome images flashing in my head and my peripheral vision. I was uncharacteristically mean and angry to Liz, my friend with whom I did the board with. It was really crazy. So starting with where I left off, I was sitting on the couch in my apartment with 10 blankets on and the TV blaring so I could attribute any noise or flash of light to that instead of the paranormal. The gruesome images kept flashing in my head. Things like my sister being mutilated, my mother hanging from the rafters, and all kinds of horrific things. I was starting to think I was losing my mind. After a lot of internal fighting with myself, should I? Yes, I should. No, you shouldn't. You're imagining this. I decided to text Liz to see if I could come over to her apartment to hopefully feel a bit safer and get some sleep. I pulled out my cell phone and there on the screen was a text from Liz. Can you come over? I'm really freaked out. Thank goodness. I text quickly as I threw on my shoes that I'd be right over. The 5-minute drive was as it had been right after the Ouija board. Very scary. I kept thinking I saw stuff on the road, side of the road, and would swerve to avoid it, nearly going into the other lane of traffic. But when I looked back, there would be nothing there. Longest 5-minute drive of my life. I swear. I got to Liz's house and went up and knocked. No one answered. I knocked again, getting a little nervous. With as crazy as the nights had been, I didn't know what to expect. Again, no one answered. I knocked again, louder this time. I was getting desperate. Finally, I heard someone walk down the steps to the front door, and there was Liz, half asleep in her pajamas, looking very confused. Hey, what's up? She asked. You told me to come over, I said. What? When? I showed her the text I received. She looked at it much more closely than I had. This isn't my number, she said. What? This isn't my number. It's my name and picture, but not my number, she said. Well, whose number is it? I asked, getting more and more nervous. Someone would have had to physically get my phone to enter a number, save it under Liz's name, and find a picture to attach to the contact. Liz looked at the number again, and I watched the color drain out of her face. What? I asked. No, it couldn't be, she said as she pushed the call button to, I guess, debunk whose number she thought it was. I pushed the speaker dial button. Hey, this is Will. Sorry I missed your call, but please leave a message and I'll get back to you soon. Thanks. Liz dropped the phone. I wanted to kick it out the door. We were both pretty much crying at this point. Well, crying isn't the right word. We were pretty much hysterical. What is going on? Liz cried once she could regain some composure. I just shook my head, too weak, too scared to speak. We went up the stairs into the living room, where wearily laid out attic. We went up the stairs to the living room area, wearily laid out attic apartment, and sat in a pensive silence. Finally, Liz spoke. I think we should pray. Now, I was brought up Catholic, but definitely wasn't practicing at that time, nor did I really know if I believed anymore. Praying was not my first answer to any situation, but I figured, why not? Liz, on the other hand, was a pretty hardcore Lutheran. She pulled out the Bible and said that sometimes she just leafs through it and picks out a passage at random and takes it as kind of a sort of advice or comfort from God. Whatever floats your boat, I guess. So she starts thumbing through the Bible while muttering the Our Father prayer. She stops suddenly, moved by the Lord, and reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." Peter chapter 5, verse 8. WTF. So yeah, needless to say, her Bible idea didn't really help matters. The rest of the night, we stayed awake together, huddling on the couch and jumping at every sound. At one point, we heard this weird scratching noise coming from the slanted roof. Liz said it probably was a squirrel or something. Yeah, no. As daylight finally came, I was tired, but too afraid to go back to my apartment. Throughout the night, those visions would come and go along with weird noises and bumps. Finally, I bit the bullet and went back to my place. Liz offered to go, but I could tell she was just saying that to be nice. I wouldn't want to go either if I didn't have to. So I get back to my apartment and stop at the front door to grow some proverbial balls, so to say. I took a deep breath. I opened the door. Again, it was about 30 degrees. All of the blinds and curtains were wide open. I closed them and went back to my room, being careful to walk on the other side of the hall, as the closet I threw the Ouija board in. I wasn't going near that thing ever again. As I walked down the hall, the flashes of those images stirred up again, and I could hear whispers of conversations. At least I told myself they were conversations. Though, to be honest, they sounded like people screaming in agony. Yep, just your average conversation. As I opened the door to my room, my jaw literally dropped. I am a big theater buff, and I had decorated my room with vintage theatrical posters. Because of the rental agreement, none were nailed to the wall. I had to use sticky tack. All of the posters were attached to the wall, but they were all upside down. All of them. They were in the same places, just turned upside down. I quickly shut the door, probably stupidly thinking that I was just tired and delusional, that when I reopened the door, everything would be the right way. I opened the door again. Nope. All upside down. I don't know why. After that, after all that had happened, I couldn't accept that something was messing with me. I called my roommate, who had gone home for spring break early, and asked her if she had stopped back at the apartment and went into my room. She hadn't. Man. I spent about an hour talking, taking all of the posters and putting them back on the wall, right side up. Towards the end of the task, I started getting angry. How dare something mess with me? How dare they come into my room and vandalize it? I couldn't feel my anger get out of control, which was totally out of character. I am a pretty chill person, but in the last 18 hours, I have been acting like I was on steroids and had roid rage or something. As I put the last poster up on the wall, I marched down the hall. I went to the closet and I grabbed the Ouija board. It was a stupid cardboard plank. Just a stupid cardboard plank. I tried to break it over my knee. Nope, didn't even bend. I grabbed a steak knife from the kitchen and started sawing into the sides. I barely scratched the surface. I took the stupid glow-in-the-dark pointer thing outside and put it in the parking lot. I then started my car and drove over it. Then I hit reverse and drove over it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. No damage. It was plastic, for goodness sake. How could it not crush under the weight of my car? Later that day, I went back over to Liz's place because I couldn't stand being in mine anymore. We decided to cook some dinner and just relax. We didn't once bring up the Ouija board or anything paranormal. It was difficult. Let me tell you, because the squirrel was busy scratching the whole roof off with about 10 of his friends. It sounded like nails on the chalkboard to me. Nonetheless, we tried our best to ignore it. When the pebbles started hitting the window, we had a bit harder time ignoring things were escalating. Like I said, Liz had an attic apartment that was 4 stories up. That's one heck of a throw. We finally got through dinner, and the images started getting worse. I tried to ignore them, along with the scratching and the pebbles periodically hitting the windows. Now it was all of the windows, not just the one. Every few seconds a pebble would hit the window to my right. Then literally 2 seconds later, one would hit the window on the complete opposite side of the house. My head was pounding from all of the images, from all of the sounds, and from the lack of sleep. I went to go wash the dishes from dinner. I remember walking over to the sink in the kitchen. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in the couch with Liz standing over me looking terrified. What happened? I asked. My head was quieter now, thankfully. You don't remember? She whispered, visibly shaking. No. It took me a while to get it out of her. Apparently, I was at the sink and turned to her with this, as she puts it, creepy smile and dead eyes, and started splashing water at her, screaming, "The power of Christ compels you," over and over while laughing. I swear I don't remember a thing. To this day, I still don't remember anything. It is completely gone from my memory. I apologize profusely. Obviously, I felt so ashamed and embarrassed. I told her I had to go, and I left. I couldn't believe I would do something like that, and the fear in her eyes when she looked at me was hell for my guilt. I didn't know where to go after I left, so I ended up driving around for a few hours. Every once in a while I see flashes out of the corner of my eyes and started swerving again. Eventually a cop pulled me over. They thought I was drunk. I tried to explain I wasn't, but I couldn't very well tell them that I was seeing random hallucinations of death and destruction out of the corners of my eyes. I told them I was just tired and apologized. They ended up breathalyzing me, but I not being drunk. Oh, how I wish I were drunk, passed. The cop then said he would drive behind me to make sure I got home safely. Looking back, it was a very nice gesture, and I appreciated his concern. But at the time, I was just very upset that I had to go back to my apartment from hell, literally. I pulled into the parking lot and waved at the cop. He just sat there waiting for me to get out of the car and into my apartment. Great. So I begrudgingly went up the walk and opened the door. Cold air greeted me, as did open blinds and curtains. Welcome home, FML. I went through the new ritual of shutting all of the blinds and curtains and headed back to my room. I was so tired I just wanted to sleep. I walked in and all of the posters were upside down again. I was too tired to fix them. I just wanted to sleep. I threw a sweatshirt and sweatpants on and threw a billion blankets on me. I just wanted to sleep. I put the TV on again so the way all the noises could come from that, and finally shut my eyes. The images were burned on my eyelids, but I did my best to ignore them. Finally, exhaustion won, and I must have fallen asleep. When I woke in the very early morning, around 5 a.m., my whole body ached. I felt like I had been in a fight all night. Even my hair hurt. I rolled out of bed and noticed the temperature was somewhat normal. It gave me a little bounce in my step as I walked to the bathroom. I did my business and then went to go brush my teeth in the mirror. I couldn't hold back the scream. There were hand-shaped bruises on my neck. My eye was black and blue. I had a split lip. I lifted up my sweatshirt and there were bruises all over my chest and stomach. There were 2 grab marks on each arm, as if someone had been holding me down. There was blood under my fingernails. What in the world happened? That's it for right now. In my next video, I'll be posting part 3 and part 4, maybe part 5. But so far, Sarah's little journey on the dark side seems to have unforeseen repercussions. So we're going to see what happens next and how she makes it through what was to come next. Thank you for listening and watching.